Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Undoing. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, picking up right where the last episode left off, obviously you have Grace kind of freaking out because she still can't find Jonathan. Like I said, calling all those hotels and stuff. He had left his phone there, so she goes to actually talk to Henry. Like, when was the last time you saw your dad? It's like, yeah, he came to me like the morning he left. It's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning he woke me up, kissed me on the head, told me goodbye. And she was like, does he normally do that? She's like, no, because normally if he were going to do that, he would tell you like the night before and not wake you up in the middle of the night. But obviously for him, it's like, because she's even like, what else did he say? It's like, I don't know, I was like half asleep. Obviously Henry's picking up his mom's freaking out. She's like, what's going on? And obviously like she's trying to make it seem like it's nothing because it's that thing, it's that dread is totally coming in because maybe just whatever the case may be, I think her mind is immediately thinking of the worst case scenario in this situation. And she's just, it's like, oh, like this murder just happened and I can't get in contact with you. And it's just, she starts immediately feeling a little suspicious about it. But I think it's also just her not wanting, no one wants to immediately jump to that conclusion, but her brain's there. Like it's starting to fill in those blanks of like, no, it can't be. You don't want it to be true, but your brain is still being like, yeah, there might be something to this. But she's trying to deny it. And obviously her son, tries to console her by being like, come on, like, maybe he doesn't have the internet where he is. It's like, it's a conference. Of course he's got internet, but then he's like, oh, maybe he's on the plane right now. So, but it's like, obviously he doesn't have his phone. So how would he contact you? But it's just like, for her, it's just like, this is outside. But I guess it's that thing of like, she's already going through all the possibilities. And obviously it's like to make her, I think to, ease herself and also ease her son, because it's like, I'm the parent in this situation. And my son's trying to make me feel better, so I need to let it seem like I am okay, even though I'm not. So probably for his sake, she's like, yeah, you're probably right. I'm stressing. Obviously, someone calls his phone. She picks up. No one is there, and he's like, oh, like if they must have realized you weren't dead and hung up. It's like, yeah, but they stood on the line for a couple seconds without saying anything. If they knew it was hearing the voice, like, oh, got the wrong number, would have said, I got the wrong number, or would have hung up immediately. They stayed on the line a couple of seconds, so that spoke volumes in itself. But obviously this situation of Elena is all over the news and stuff like that, and I think this kind of speaks volumes, obviously, about her friend, like the people she's a part of that committee with and everything ended up like, well, that they're a little gossipy, but also like, because obviously like her friend, was it Sylvia, ended up calling her up and it was kind of like, oh my god, it's crazy, right? Wait, Amanda's on the other line, so it's almost just kind of like I don't know, it seems like she's sincere, but at the same time, it just seemed a little insincere. Just almost kind of like you wanted people to know, like, oh my god, this is crazy. Oh my god, like it's almost like what's more important was a conversation rather than what was going down. That's the conversation about, oh my god, how crazy and how shocking it is went down, instead of just the fact that this went down. That's how I felt about it. But maybe that's just me reading too much into it. But obviously, she's dropping Henry off at school. But obviously it's just, she's trying to do whatever she can to figure out, like, where is he, no way to contact him. So she shows up at his job. I can't remember if this scene is before or after, but obviously she's in her therapy session with that couple. And I didn't know how to interpret it, like, because obviously that one person that's like, he's like, yeah, the reason why I did what I did is because basically he lived so much of his life restricted that basically this whole cheating and stuff like that was almost like a pine for attention almost, but almost like because he'd been so restricted his entire life. But like his significant other was holding on to him. And part of me was wondering, like, as she was looking at it, I didn't know how to interpret that. Either that as being interpreted as, like, in this moment of need where she needs her husband to know, like, needs to find him so that everything's okay, so that her mind doesn't go to the worst place. Or maybe it's just because it's, like, something's just not right. And, like, I also interpret that as, could that be that dude being, like, his significant other being, like, you're going to say what I need you to say, or you're going to say what you... not really going to say what you need to say, because I didn't know. Like, I didn't know whether what she picked up from that, whether it was just like looking at that made her think of her own situation, or whether there was more to that. Like I said, I'm probably most likely reading too much into it. It's probably the former and not the latter, but then obviously, she goes to his job and asks Stuart, oh yeah, where's he? And he was like, he was dodging the question. I was like, what? Like, I was like, is he having an affair and you know about it and you're covering for it or what? But then Stewart was like, I can't tell you. I was like, oh, he's into some shit at work and you legally can't say anything because a hospital wouldn't, because if some shit came out about one of their doctors and it became public knowledge, it would look bad on the hospital. So they'd probably have people who sign NDAs and whatever, or just probably just in general, like, your job is threatened if you say a damn word about this. Like, we keep this in-house, you know? But it was like, and then it turns out, like, you know, it's like there is no conference and everything, so that's a lie. Obviously, you know, Grace eventually takes Henry and stays with her dad for a little bit, but then the cops show up, and obviously she willingly goes with him. Her dad's like, get a lawyer or something. She's like, I don't need, like, for one, she goes with the cops willingly because for her it's like, I need to know, I need to understand what's going on. And so she's like, I didn't really know Elena. He's like, no, we'll talk more when you get to the station. They take her in that room. Oh, you want coffee or anything? And it's just like the way they're acting, you know, it's weird. Because she had actually saw the officer, one of the detectives earlier, when she was dropping her son off, like, at the school and everything. Or rather, it was either dropping him off or picking him up. Which is, once again, kind of that thing about her, that friend group from that committee or whatever. They were just talking like, oh my God, like the husband, yeah, did you know that he had disappeared and he turned himself in? It's like, no, him disappearing was a whole rumor and stuff like that. Well, it's like, you know, them kind of being a little catty and stuff about it. But then at the station, it gets revealed, because now it starts turning into like, and I think this is going to be the complicated nature of this. I think I've watched a few crime dramas on that. Obviously, there's real world events in a similar fashion where this has happened, but it's like, as the wife, it comes down to how much did you know, what did you know, but more importantly, when did you know what you knew? So now it's going to look badly on Grace, because now it's a thing, because even the detective, like, oh, so you're telling me, you honestly want to tell me you don't know where your husband is? But the truth is, she doesn't. She's like, he left his phone. It's like, oh, why didn't you tell us that he left his phone? You didn't ask. You asked me where he was. You didn't ask me where his phone was. But that's also the thing too, that it doesn't look good. I think it's just because her being a psychologist, a therapist. I think for her, like, she's probably a lot more like, whereas a lot of people might crumble under that, which you see her kind of do that, but at the same time, it's just like something kind of snaps in her. She's like, this bullshit is. She gets aggressive back, but I think maybe it's just, you know, I guess as a therapist, it's like she's always usually the one in control of a conversation. So this is a situation where it's not only are you out of control in this the control is being taken away from you in the conversation, but your entire life is coming unraveled, because like, you're like, wait, my husband lied. He's actually not been working at his job for the past 3 months because he actually got fired. It's like, wait, what? If you didn't know that? Yeah, well, the reason why, you want to know? And she's like, no, because there's some part that she did know, like, at least she could guess and surmise. He's like, oh, you sure you don't want to know what it was? Because it was like inappropriate. And it's like, he's like, because apparently it was about inappropriate touching with a patient's parent, and she's like, I don't want to know. But it turns out his patient was Miguel, and who, lo and behold, whose mother was it? And his mom is, lo and behold, Elena. So he treated her son, and that's when they had their affair. So now it, you know, brings this connection of like, you know, and now in retrospect, it adds so much context to like why every time, like in the first episode, she's just eyeing Grace up and down. It's like when she has a baby in her arm, like breastfeeding, like she narrows in the entire time, like this. And as the words kind of get used later on, she's like obsessed with Grace. But I guess it's like, you're like, either that's a byproduct of, oh, I'm the other woman in this situation, but I got to find out, like, who is this wife that he's, because it's probably a thing of he would not leave his wife for her, so that's probably what it comes down to. So she had to find out who she was, and maybe she kind of felt a little guilty, like, oh, you're actually kind of nice and you're kind, and I feel bad because I'm having an affair with your husband. Maybe she saw a side of Jonathan that Grace never saw, like, you're not, you know, he's a terrible person. Like, it's just, it's certain things, like now probably going back and rewatching that first episode, a lot of that dialogue and just those interactions hit way differently. Makes you almost wonder, like, her standing in front of her naked, was that almost kind of like a power play to a certain extent? Like, yeah, like, I'm fucking your husband wants me, not you. I don't know. I'm, like I said, I'm probably reading too much into that, but it adds a layer to like everything from last episode. But obviously this is all shaking her to her core. But like I said, she gets very like, you know what? I don't like the line of questioning. I don't like the way you're trying to make me seem like I'm the culprit in this situation. So either you charge me or you tell me I'm free to go. So she goes, and obviously the whole thing, she's processing it, and it's just like her dad's talking to her. It's like, yeah, you stay here tonight, and she was going to go back to their place to get some stuff. But then, like, going through his stuff, because she starts smelling his shirt. I was like, what's she? I was like, trying to smell and see if Elena's scent is on him. And then obviously she finds like a cloth or something, some clothing or something, or might have been a scarf or whatever it was that wasn't hers. And she smells it, and then there's like some cologne or perfume or whatever, and she sprays it, and it's like, this is what Elena smelled like. So it solidified in her mind, because before that it was just conjecture. I mean, yes, her husband lied, but it doesn't necessarily mean something necessarily went on, but this kind of solidified that a little bit for her. Then lo and behold, obviously there's a whole conversation she's having with her son about they're looking for dad. It's like, yeah, but he lied about some stuff. It's like, yeah, just because he knew her doesn't mean that he killed her. And it's like, of course not. They don't think he, but obviously it's like, she has some questions herself along with the police, drops her son off, and then like, she's talking to that lady, I think her name's Jessica, whatever, and the lady kind of gives her a stink eye. She's like, what the hell is that about? The person was like, oh, yeah. Oh, Henry, go on ahead. Yeah, so Grace, we're going to need you to not show up to pick him up anymore. We think this is best for everyone. And then Grace is looking around, and everyone's just whispering and looking at her, and it's like, so now it's become like, once again, I think it's so interesting, that gossipiness, because Grace was never 100% part of it, but she kind of was, because those were her friends. But it's like, it's so interesting and so quickly how everyone turns on you. Because now everyone's just looking at her, and even to the point they're like, yeah, you might want to find someone else to come and pick Henry up. But don't worry, I made sure to tell the teachers not to treat him any differently. The fact of the matter is he's a student here first and foremost, and he'll be taken care of. And it's just like, you know, her friend Sylvia kind of calls her over and tells her what, you know, because initially, obviously everyone was looking at the husband, but the husband has an alibi. So now they're looking at her husband. Now it's a situation, because I think Sylvia had said, like, it turns out Jonathan had hired her as a lawyer a little while back, because basically he was going through some trouble at the time. Obviously, it was that whole investigation at work where it's like whether something was going on between him and Elena. Obviously, at the time, she didn't know who this woman was. Obviously, you know, Jonathan convinced her it was just allegations. Nothing was true to it. And obviously, later on, it was like, it was like a week later or something. It's like, oh yeah, everything is fine, you know. So he made it seem like everything was fine, but I'm assuming that was like after he had already gotten fired. She didn't know any of it. So it's like, why didn't you tell me anything? It's like, well, because of, you know, privileged information. Because even during the conversation, because she didn't want to know, so she kept being like, you know, with the cops, she was like, don't tell me anything, that's privileged information, like I shouldn't know. Not privilege wasn't the right word. I don't think it is. It's that it was legal related stuff that she isn't supposed to know, so she didn't want to know. But it's also like, you didn't want to hear it not because of legal reasons, you didn't want to hear it for your own personal reason. Like, you don't want to hear what this might say about your husband, you know, who he is as a person and his character. But even her friend was suggesting, like, basically for her to get, like, if, you know, like, work with the cops, basically get ahead of this, because the moment he gets caught, he will get caught when he does, this is going to blow up way bigger, and obviously her and her son will get dragged down in all of this, you know. And it's the point I'm making earlier on. It's like, because I even think, I keep forgetting the name of the book this is based on. I think it's called You Should Have Known, I think is what it's called. And once again, that's that thing of like, how as the spouse, how much do you know about what your significant other is up to? It's like, oh, you're with this person, you're married to this person, you should know everything. It's like, but that's the thing, you know, when people are very good at keeping their monsters at bay, their secrets at bay. It's like, you know, it becomes like a whole other job, a whole, you know, especially in his case, because he had so many damn lies, so it's just so much stuff he had to concoct. It was lie upon lie upon lie. So it's like you had to protect one lie to protect another lie to protect another lie. But it's just crazy, just in this moment, like where her life is and all of this. And obviously, you know, I can't remember if this was before or after, but obviously she'd gone back to her place, and obviously the cops were looking through, trying to gather up all the evidence and stuff like that. And it's like, well, where's his cell phone? It's like, hands it to, and he's like, I get it. you want to work with us. He's like, because honestly, I can tell you're a lot more angry at him than you are at us because of the lies and the secrets. He's like, I've seen this situation too many times before where, a husband has a secret he's kept from his wife, and sometimes that leads to this and that, and sometimes even leads to murder. So obviously, this is a situation that, the detective is like, I've kind of seen this too many times before. But they needed his hair, like the brush, because it's like, oh, there must have been samples there was been something at the crime scene. We also learned what happened to her because we got a glimpse of Elena's face at the crime scene last episode, but we didn't know what. Basically, someone had bludgeoned her face in. Like, I was like, Jesus, that's some Negan shit, If you're unaware, it's a Walking Dead thing. Regardless, I was like, damn. That's brutal, and that's a very, terrible way to go. And so, when they got the brush, I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh yeah, there must be some DNA at the crime scene or something like that. But it's like, no, it's not necessarily for that. It's because they were having an affair. Now the question is, well, Elena recently has a baby, so could that be? And her husband wants, a paternity test because he doesn't believe the baby's his. And now it's like even more so, like, not only did he have an affair, he had a baby with another woman. He might have possibly murdered said woman, which is even more messed up because that means you murdered the mother of your child, and that's another level to the whole thing. Like, obviously you can just tell how hard this is for her. So obviously her and Henry go to the summer home. Henry's kind of snippy with her and stuff like that, talking about the fact that all she's doing is running away, which I was immediately like, you little shit. I get it, you're a kid, I can't be too pissed, but I'm like, that's so messed up. I get it, you got your complication, but you don't think your mom's in a complicated situation? I mean, all the emotions, just like her, it's not just your world that got turned upside down, it was hers as well. So I was like, that's so inconsiderate of him. Once again, he's a kid, so, kids, have a hard time expressing their emotions. Like I said, he's dealing with his own stuff, so obviously he's going to lash out at her, but obviously she's looking at the summer home, just pictures of them and just shit. It's just like, she just tears the room apart because it's just like the lies, and this life she thought was so great, so amazing, and it's just like, it's shit, it's lies, and she's there hugging her son. But what I thought was interesting, the moment she was there, earlier when she was sitting on the beach, she saw a shadow of somebody, and I was like, wait, is her husband hiding there? Lo and behold, it turns out he actually is. I wasn't too surprised. I mean, I guess he wasn't expecting anyone to actually show up at the summer home until they were there. But obviously she kept seeing stuff out of the corner of her eye. She was like, what the hell is that about? So lo and behold, he presents himself, and he's like, don't scream, I promise you I didn't do it. Yes, I had an affair, I'm shitty for doing that, but I did not murder her. The fact of the matter is, he talks about the fact is that she became obsessed because it wasn't just about me. She joined all this stuff so she could get close to you. So he was like, the obsession kind of ran deep, that because obviously he tried to tell Sylvia that, hey, this was a crazy woman. It's like, yeah, they had an affair, and so now it becomes that situation of, was it simply that? Was it a thing of, yeah, they had an affair and he did try to, she did kind of start overreaching and going too far, and, when you look back on that situation where she was like, it's just, do you ever feel like it's too much? Now you're wondering, is he telling, because now it's a thing of because even, Grace is like, I don't know what to believe. You're a freaking liar. You've lied about so damn much. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I would never tell our son to believe in you ever again, because why would I tell him to believe in you? I don't even believe in you because you've lied so much. How do I know what's the truth? And he said that basically he went over to her place. Yeah, they argued, but he's like, we had sex and then I left. And then what ended up happening was he ended up coming back sometime later and found her dead. He freaked out, and then lo and behold went home. He was like, I was in shock, and then cried, because what she even said, she's like, last episode, she's like, I thought you lost a patient. That's what that was about. And then we made love. We made love, which made love after they fought and after him and Elena had fought and had sex, and then him coming back to find her dead body. So, but he's still promising that he didn't do it. Now, I mean, that's the thing. Did he not? Did he do it? Did he not? He's told, obviously it does not look good for him, but now it puts her in this complicated position, because obviously her son's probably not going to, the way he's like, Dad, and he's like, oh, and he runs over and hugs his son, but it's like, Henry's probably not going to doubt his dad. He's going to be like, no, I know my dad didn't do it, But then it's like, well, why did you run? It's like, well, because I knew I'd look guilty, so that's why. I mean, because there was enough lead up to it that he knew, like, everything was going to point to him because, like, the affair and everything. But it's like, you disappeared, you made sure to leave your phone behind and everything because you didn't want to be in contact with anybody. It's like, you only presented yourself now because they were at the summer home where you were hiding out, So that's not going to look good for him. And I think that's going to be a good chunk of this, too, trying to figure out the truth. Obviously balancing that because, like, yeah, this is your husband, but it's like, once again, do you stick by him? Once again, because everyone's going to rake her over the coals because they're going to be like, hey, how much did you know? Like, oh, how could you not know? This is your husband and everything, what he was up to, so... And, everyone, once again, even just in this one episode, we already saw, like, the people in her circle, her world, turning on her, like, even the people at the school, so how quickly, things can change, makes you wonder, like, oh, were any of the people around you very ride or die? Because none of them are, but I guess there's so much already being like, oh, he did this. The cops are kind of looking at it pretty hard that he did this, so, but, has anything been proven for a fact? No. But that's also the thing, too, that there's so many whispers around. I guess it's like the police bring up something, someone else whispers. Once again, the rumors that were already spreading about, like, oh, yeah, the husband had turned himself in and stuff like that. Elena's husband had turned himself in and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a lot, and obviously at the end of it, we have Grace calling the police on her husband, but it's like, it's going to be a messy situation. I'm really interested to ultimately see where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and good